You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Posture Screen, Imaging Services, Zinget Solutions, Chiro Moguls, 5-Star Management, Chiro Health USA, Local Gold, Rhino Coaching, Mahalo Wellness, Chiro Thin, Peter Goldman Zone School of Healing, Go Get Talks, Fit to Lift, The Goodman Factor, Unmarket Your Practice, and McCaffrey Clinical Mentoring. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 127 of Chiro Hustle. I'm your co-host Luke Millette, and today we have a special round 2 of another guest. Here's Jim to tell you all about it.
So today we had the opportunity of re-interviewing Dr. Dan Sullivan, and if you want to get fired up, stay tuned. All right, so Dr. Dan Sullivan, this is an honor to have you back on our show, man. You are one of the first people to be asked onto our show for the second time. And this is episode 127 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. So welcome to the show, man.
It's good to be here, man. 127. This is going to be a great episode. I'm honored to be here for a second time, let alone just honored to be here. So yeah, let's rock and roll. This is going to be great for the listener. Hey, if you're a viewer out there, get ready. We're fired up. We're ready to rock and roll. Give you some value today.
So first things, man, is I know that we had you on before, but what has changed or what's going in a different direction for you since our first interview?
Oh man, I don't even remember, to be honest with you. I can tell you what hasn't changed. What hasn't changed is never been a better time to be a chiropractor. That's the bottom line. And I get this all the time. I've traveled all over the country and world for that matter, speaking about this, and anybody who will listen for that matter, students, patients, doctors, researchers. And I'll tell you what hasn't changed is when I look around. I mean, you guys see it. I look around. Just look around. I mean, so we've got 1 out of every 3 Americans currently suffer from chronic pain. We have an opioid epidemic. We have, children's health problems suffering at a highest level than it's ever been in the history of time. Children will not outlive their parents. I mean, we've got the lowest infant mortality in one of the lowest in the industrialized world. I just look around and I say, man, wouldn't it make sense that there was a doctor or office that would allow somebody to start to give some hope back to their health care? And then I look at and evaluate, which obviously we're in, is to understand what chiropractic has to offer. And then that's where I see, wow, there's never been a greater need for people to be directed towards a healthcare understanding first that actually says, let's not treat look at a symptom as the enemy of war. Let's actually realize that, man, there may be something to this body's ability to heal itself, and let's, instead of going at the symptoms, let's remove interference and allow that God-given health to actually express itself. So then I look around and say, what profession's doing that? I'm a little bit biased, but I don't see any that are doing it bigger than chiropractors, and so it's never been a better time.
So let me ask you, as you've noticed this, why do you think that other people are infringing on the chiropractic philosophy and the messaging of chiropractic, and they're trying to segue it into a different model?
Are you talking about those within or those without?
Those without. Those outside of chiropractic. They're trying to own wellness. They're actually trying to bottle and sell innate intelligence.
Yep, I'll tell you exactly why. Because, like I was just pulling up this article, it was called Electroceuticals, and how they're creating, it says, nerve-stimulating therapies could soon replace drugs for many chronic conditions. I believe, and I know, and I have evidence to support this, that they're looking for it because the answers that they thought were in pills, potions, lotions, and surgeries are not there to the degree they thought. They're looking for something different. And here's the other thing, the consumer is driving it. The consumer is not okay with just more drugs, with just more, answers that are very, non-permanent and never get into the cause. So I think there's a lot of factors. I think the other factor is there's industries in healthcare that are looking at, like you said, innate capabilities of the body, because they realize we've got to look for somewhere where there's hope, and we know it's not in more drugs because we've been to the highest places and lowest places. We've got the technologies. It's just the results aren't backing it up. So That would be actually, not only my take, that's a fact of the matter. If you don't believe it, you haven't looked at the evidence. You do not look at the evidence. When you look at the evidence, it's very clear. They're looking at vagal stimulator. They're looking at nerve stimulators. GlaxoSmithKline, the 7th largest pharmaceutical company, has created a $50 million fund for bioelectronic medicine. They are actually looking for, they've got 26 teams trying to develop and find the first team that can develop, and they're going to have $1 million prize to the first team that can develop an implantable device that can respond to the body's nervous system and exert influence over the body's function. That's exactly what it says, and they're looking for that. And so when you start to understand this, you start to take a step back, like, man, there may be something to this chiropractic philosophy and chiropractic application. But when others are looking at it, they're not saying, hey, we need to go find out what chiropractic is. They're just saying, we need to find different answers. Well, we've been talking about this for a long time. So I get fired up about this, as you could tell, because I see we sit on this gold mine. And we also, again, the challenge is there's a lot of people that don't know this. And so we got to get in front of them any which way we can and get them the truth and to be able to practice in a model that allows us to express that.
You know, that's one of the things that I really wanted to have you on for today, because I know you're so consistent at banging the drum, and you always have a great topic to share with your audience. And I know that there's a lot of things that you have that are relevant to our audience. Let's just talk a little bit about why you started doing the Innate 8 and a little bit around how you've been branding that message to the larger chiropractic audience.
Well, yeah, so you're referring to Innate 8. I just, I'm a constant seeker of platforms that can help us get the information out. We know that social media has created platforms that's never been done in the history of time. In fact, we're living through the greatest revolution of communication in history. And the second was the printing press, and this is said to be 5 times greater than that. And we know that. We get our information from there. So I look for ways, that happens to be one of them, doing Facebook Lives every 8 o'clock every morning. And so, yeah, I dig Facebook. I dig social media just like anybody else. Because it gives information to people. So, we need to get in front of people. We need to utilize every aspect we can. We don't have the money that a pharmaceutical company does. We don't have the means that they and resources they have. So we have to utilize, but to your point, Jim, I'll bang the drum all day, but I don't do it because I just have nothing better to do. It's like when you see how much value we can bring to a human being, it just angers, frustrates, drives, commits me even deeper to realize there's a mom that's crying over her baby's crib in a 5-mile radius of everybody that's listening to this right now or in the future, to where they're sitting, where you're at, where you're at in the world right now. They're in a 5-mile radius of where you're at. There's a mom that's crying over her baby because there's no answers, and it's more drugs, and it's more antibiotics, and it's more testing, and it's more of this and that. And she just wants answers, and those answers that can only be provided through a chiropractic office, and she has no idea. So you better believe I'm going to continue banging the drum and finding ways that I can get and help chiropractors get this message out, own this message for themselves, so they would be willing to get in front of her, maybe create a video that could go viral, maybe go into a screening, maybe create a lunch and learn, get in front of them or their family or their husband or their workplace or wherever they're at the festival this Saturday, walking by a booth, getting in front of them and being able to be a voice of reason and a voice of hope, even amidst the challenge. And I will have to speak to that, is that it isn't easy. If you sign up for chiropractic to be easy, then you may as well get out now, because it isn't going to be easy. It's going to be more challenging. It's going to get more challenging. There's going to be more negativity. There's going to be comments and Facebook posts that it's going to be negative, and you need this, and you don't have evidence. You have science, and you guys are cracks, and you're quacks, and you're crazy. I'm telling you, that comes with the gig. Right? But if you could keep your eyes focused on that mom getting these answers that so often they get, see, that's our prize. It isn't going to be, that you're going to be put on a pedestal in your town and the mayor's going to tell you how great you are. The prize is the mom that gets it, right? That's our prize. And that, to me, is one of the greatest gifts we get. So to that point, we'll keep banging the drum.
So what would you say is the most important thing to happen for chiropractic in the last 10 years?
In the last 10 years, the greatest thing that has happened to chiropractic, I think that the greatest thing, and for me, I speak about this often, I think the greatest thing continues to happen is we're continually seeing and understanding some of the evidence behind why what we do works. Now, I'm a big firm believer is that we don't need more evidence to support the fact that it does work, but it does help us to understand deeper what we have to offer people, because the biggest challenge I see in chiropractic currently today, to much of some people's surprise, is that we've got a lot of chiropractors going through school and they don't know what chiropractic is and they don't know the value of it because they're taught all these things. See, 30 years ago, you got into chiropractic, or 40 or 50, because you had something amazing happen to you or a family member. That's why you got into it. You literally had your grandma got adjusted and, she coughed up a tumor, or her cancer went away, or their blood pressure, or they were on their deathbed for diabetes. They got adjusted and it went away. So you didn't have to go into chiropractic school believing or getting into chiropractic thinking like, what's this thing all about? You went into chiropractic school thinking, this is amazing. I just want to learn how to do it so I can go talk about what I witnessed with my own family. Now, in the last 15 to 20 years, it's become a great profession and people are getting into it. See, I used to teach and still obviously spend my time going around a lot of schools. If you pull the average student, it's about a 30% rate have never been adjusted before in a chiropractic school. So that means that the good news is they're getting there because it's a good job or a good profession or good outlook. But the bad news is now they're going to have to rely on this teachers and their leaders and this curriculum that's going to give them this belief and conviction in what we do. And so that has not worked out really well for us in the last 15 to 20 years. And so that is a challenge. And that's why I talk about certainty and confidence based on the evidence, based on 120 years worth of evidence, but also the science and research. So that being said, I like that the research that has come out, that we're looking at the right things and we're dialing down why when Harvey Lillard got his hearing back to 1918 and the flu pandemic occurred and chiropractic got put on the map for helping people not die from the flu, to 1942 when Mahatma Gandhi hired a chiropractor to come live for him 3 months and his blood pressure went away, to Napoleon Hill's son, who was born deaf and mute, got adjusted when he was 6 and started, got 65% of his hearing back, to all of these things that have happened, right? We know that these things are real and happen and they happen every week in our office. Now we can begin to put the scientific explanation on why that is biologically plausible so that I can take a young chiro and say, here's what we do, here's our philosophy, and here's why it works, so that you can communicate it with an authority and a conviction. So sorry, that's a long-winded way to say I get fired up about the evidence that we do have and that it's enough and that we have amazing science that backs it up.
Well, the last time we interviewed you, a lot of what we discussed, if I believe, was about how it's a brain game. It's not a pain game. And a lot of the evidence that you're saying with this research is leading us back to understand that all the symptomatology starts through the nervous system and it controls the brain, which is the control center for the body as people think it is. Well, really what we know is it's innate intelligence that's inside of the core of the human. And I make this analogy to people all the time. If you cut yourself, you don't have to look at it and tell it to heal. It heals on its own. But also when a chiropractor removes the vertebral subluxation, allows the body to come back into balance, it heals itself naturally. And these are things you're telling me about with Gandhi. These are things you're telling me about with Napoleon Hill. These are the things that are happening because the chiropractor just removes the interference, but there's nobody else equipped out there to be able to do this type of service except for the chiropractor. And here's the one thing is I tell people at these booths that I go sit at and I schedule people in is that if you're not taking advice from us, you're buying something from the other people. And that's fine because I think that that's the positioning that they've been led to believe. But then again, the late Barry Anderson always said that if we don't close them for chiropractic, then somebody else is going to close them for drugs and surgery. And it's not like us against them, but it's like you're saying, you'll bang the drum every day because it is a culmination of us telling the truth consistently. And if we don't tell the truth consistently, someone else will misconstrue the truth of chiropractic and they'll start owning the story. And they'll start telling the story of chiropractic and saying how what chiropractic is not chiropractic, but it's this. So there's never been a greater time to be a chiropractor, like you said at the beginning of the interview, but also there's never been a better time for chiropractors to consistently tell their message like you do as a resource for people to actually get a charismatic leader that tells the truth to them, that saves their family, that mom that's down the street that has a baby that's sick and they're going and getting the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. Well, what if they just got the one thing? And that's what I tell people that I meet on the street is that a chiropractor helps them with the 4-dimensional lifestyle. They help with the eat right, the think right, the move right, but they start with the adjustment. And then they are the resource for you and your family's health. And then they will teach you about the healthy thoughts. They'll teach you the healthy habits of how to eat, and they'll teach you the healthy aspects of moving the right way and keeping your body fit. So it is the eat right, think right, move right, but it's also the adjustment. And I think a lot of times the chiropractor wants to embody this 4-part life and teach that, but they don't start with the first thing first, the primary, which is the adjustment.
Yeah, I agree. I even take it a step further. For me, it's like it even goes beyond the adjustment, because if they don't understand why the adjustment is necessary and the philosophy, then ultimately they're using that adjustment as a Band-Aid or expensive aspirin. And so then it's like the why, like that education. So I'm the big proponent in doctors that I coach and teach and train, that if we're not sitting them down at some point throughout, the first 2 or 3 days of their process and report of findings, and, particularly the first day and two, that they understand why you exist, why we exist, that we teach them, because it's like, I had a mentor one time say, I don't want their spine, I want their mind. I don't want their spine before their mind. If I can have their mind, I have their spine. And that what he meant by that is the spine, and being able to apply the adjustment was secondary for them to understand why I would even apply an adjustment. And it's not for their back pain or the neck pain. It's only that would be an effect of the benefits. And so yeah, that is exactly it. And we have to take pride in that. And again, one thing for me is, I don't want to just do a lip service to the chiro either. Like listen, so there's a guy, you guys all know a guy named, if you studied anything about, biology, if you had ever at a biology class, you had to learn about DNA. You had to learn about this double helix DNA that was created. Well, that was 1960s that we found out. There's a guy named Francis Crick, right? Watson and Crick, who created and found this out and had developed this understanding. Brilliant dudes. Well, listen to what this guy named Francis Crick did. In 1963, he invited a bunch of people into Cambridge University, where he was studying biochemistry. And he invited this guy speaking from this. He said he was one of them that he invited. Francis Crick, Sidney Brenner, 2 brilliant guys. They had just cracked the genetic code. And both were materialists. Now, I'm going to get to a point why this is so vital. Is that, and pun intended, why it's so vital. I'll say why. They explained that there was 2 unsolved problems today in biology. One was development. The other one was consciousness. And they had not been solved, in their opinion, because people were not very bright that were working on them. So they were going to so they said they were going to find answers within 10 or maybe 20 years. And they invited this group of students along. It says, here's the kicker. They both tried their best. Brenner was awarded a Nobel Prize in 2002. Crick corrected the manuscript for his final paper on the brain in 2004 before he died. At his funeral, Michael Crick, Francis' son, said what made him tick was not the desire to be famous, wealthy, or popular, but to knock the final nail into the coffin of vitalism. And it says he failed. So did Brenner. The problems of development of consciousness remain unsolved today. Many genomes have been discovered. Details have been sequenced. Brain scans are ever more precise. But there's never been any proof, and there still exists no proof today, that life, minds, and health can be explained by physics and chemistry alone. So, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this is what that means. I say that to you because what this points to is the fact that there's brilliant people out there that are smarter than anybody else that's probably ever give you a negative review or a negative viewpoint or a bad comment, or the neurologist or the PhD or the research scientist. These guys are smarter than them. They wanted to say that we are done with actually talking about anything that doesn't have to do with the physical body. They're saying we are going to knock the nail into the coffin of vitalism, saying that you can, like, that's just woo-woo, that's craziness, that's out, and they tried. And to this day, with the best technology, what exists today is the fact that, and to your point earlier, Jim, saying why are people moving towards this, is because we have evidence to support the greatest healthcare today would be one that would take into consideration that the innate intelligence, this intelligence that 2 cells came together and created a healthy human, strong human being. That's amazing. And so instead of saying, what can we treat? Let's have a healthcare that's designed about removing interference. I'm not saying we don't need the treatment for some certain things. I'm not saying we don't need the drugs, the surgery at all costs. I'm saying that let's call that what it is. And what if there was actually a healthcare model that was designed around the fact that we could remove interference and honor that, and that we could put meat on the bones, meaning there's evidence to support when you get up as a chiropractor in front of people and you deliver this message, I want you to have confidence to say, listen, we believe that there's an innate intelligence in the body, and not even a belief, it's a fact. I want to see a dead body heal itself. A dead body has a brain. If the brain runs the body, then you tell me how a dead body's healing itself. It's not. There's an intelligence inside. This isn't just weird or foo-foo. This is the reality. So when we start to teach that, to me, that's where the hope comes from. And then we have the application called the chiropractic adjustment. And then we get to, obviously, there's lifestyle modifications and changes we can make through that lens, through the lens of philosophy. But that can be see, in business, we call it unique selling proposition. What's your USP? To me, we as chiropractors have a USP greater than anything else out there, because we have this thing called innate intelligence and principles that subscribe to that and show people how to live a life that abides by that. So again, sorry for being long-winded, but I get fired up about that.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Posture Screen, Imaging Services, Zinget Solutions, Chiro Moguls, 5-Star Management, Chiro Health USA, Local Gold, Rhino Coaching, Mahalo Wellness, Chiro Thin, Peter Goldman Zone School of Healing, Go Get Talks, Fit to Lift, The Goodman Factor, Unmarket Your Practice, and McCaffrey Clinical Mentoring. Let's hustle.
By no means, man. That's one of the reasons that I gravitate towards you as a voice and a thought leader in the beautiful profession of chiropractic. And that's why I was like, man, Dan, let's get you on for a second time to share your story, because people do need to hear what you have to say. I mean, honestly, if I could have you on every week, I would.
I appreciate that, man. And I always resonate with people's stories, and we've talked about it last time, but I come from a family of medical doctors. My two brothers are medical doctors. My mom's a nurse for 30 years, 35 years. My sister's an occupational therapist. So I didn't grow up in this model. I can relate to the average, person that grew up more in the medical model. Like I wasn't adjusted out of the womb. I was fully vaccinated. Like I had, 2 sets of tubes put in my ears, not just one. I had my tonsils taken out at 9, like loving parents. They just didn't know. I didn't know. But when I came upon this was the difference. When I heard this message, for some reason, again, I believe that God gifted me with an ability to say, I'm just not okay that just because everybody doesn't know it doesn't give me any right to not be bold about it. And I see too many chiropractors, they hear this message, but then they kind of like, well, it's just not the accepted thing. Listen, I'm willing to be not accepted to be able to help that mom that we talked about earlier, because that's our reward. And so I think that when we as a profession can focus on that, the moms, the dads, the people out there. I mean, listen, last 15 years, I've spent time, I've worked with Olympic athletes. I was in London in 2012. I've been in world championships with wrestling teams. There's never been a greater time, like more people utilizing chiropractic for better performance, better hand-eye coordination, better strength, better injury prevention, so that coaches can maximize. Coaches love chiropractic because then they can push their athletes further in practice, knowing they're going to have more resources to rehab and to be better the next day. Like, it's never been a greater time in that regard, that people do understand certain levels of performance and how chiropractic relates. So we have such a platform to jump off of. We just have to be bold. And I have found that a lack of evidence, or people that think there's a lack of evidence, will hold back. And I want to give them the evidence and answer some questions in their mind, so that they won't hold back and they're willing to go take the hits.
Well, bro, that's really why, I gravitate towards your message too, because it is a vitalism type program and everybody wants to have more health. And I just interviewed Grant Cardone on this topic. I was asking him why it's so essential for everybody to follow the chiropractic lifestyle. And he goes, well, the other people are losing and they don't keep people healthy. And then here's the thing is, there should be a 2-doctor paradigm. So you came from the right crop, bro. There should be a 2-doctor paradigm. There should be the chiropractors to keep you healthy. And there should be the other type of doctors that save people from dying. And I think that this is an essential conversation that I can't have enough times. And that's why you see what we're doing with Chiro Hustle is we are constantly chipping every day. We consistently lay bricks and trailblaze and clear the roads for the future of chiropractic, because I do realize that there is a necessity for the truth to be told on a consistent, dynamic basis. And that's when we can have access to the 1%ers of the world, which are the doctors, and the chiropractors are a smaller percentage of that 1%. And we get a chance to bridge the gap with the 1%ers, which are the chiropractors of the doctor population. And now we understand that there's a 2-doctor paradigm. Keep me healthy, save me from dying. Do the drugs when it's necessary that are like prescribed to you, but don't use them long term. Use the chiropractic adjustment as something to get you out of your mess, but stick with it forever. So I think these are things that we have to keep on indoctrinating the populace with. If not, we're going to lose as a culture. We're going to lose as a society, and people are only going to get more sick and suffer more if they especially don't follow the chiropractic philosophy. But it's not the chiropractor's position to tell everybody what a subluxation is, in my opinion. It's the chiropractor's position to say, you should come see me as much as you would go see the dentist, right? That's what people understand.
Right. Yeah, we got it. We got to utilize things that, we call it attachment education. They're already attached to something. There's something that they know that they're attached to. They understand, you can't lose fat overnight. You can't, straighten out teeth overnight. There's just certain things. So yeah, to that point, we got to use every ounce of resources we can. And a lot of that just is communication, like you said, communicating. And so we got these amazing platforms like this that we're on right now, and we need to get more chiros to put out more content and ultimately get in front of more people. That's my take on that.
Amen, brother.
So tell us about some of your mentors or people you look up to, whether they're living or deceased.
I've got a lot of mentors, particularly as it relates to chiropractic. Man, my early mentors were Fred Barge and Reggie Gold, and I had a mentor of mine even at the college I went to named Joseph Sweary, just amazing chiropractor. A lot of Gonstead guys, a lot of Gonstead docs that were amazing mentors of mine. But I was always drawn towards the communicators, ones that could understand it and communicate the message in a very articulate way and did it for the right reasons. And so I would say that, Fred and Reggie were two of my biggest ones. But then I also, to this day, I'm an evidence-based guy. Chris Kent is a major guy that I, just adore. And, James Chestnut, fantastic, human being and big mentor of mine. So I got just a lot. It's endless. And then from the business world, I like capitalism. I'm a capitalist. I'm a guy that, I just, anybody that's promoting the fact that you got to work hard and there's every opportunity. So I follow a lot of the, Grant Cardone's of the world, but more of the people that, have an ability to say, let's utilize business for good. Let's utilize money for good. We need all the resources we can. I believe that money is an amplifier of what you already are. So let's make a lot of it. If you're an evil person and you make a lot of it, it's going to amplify that. If you're a great person, make a lot of it's going to amplify that. So it's those things I like to understand, be around the right mindset of people that are going to really drive, that message.
So what's some advice you would give to a student who just graduated or a chiropractor that wants to create a movement?
It's going to be harder than you think. And I spend a lot of time. I call it the UGP. Discover your UGP. I take doctors and other healthcare, natural health practitioners through a discovery model. Essentially, it's a session and they work through this questionnaire that allows them to find out what their UGP is. I've kind of coined this as your unique gifting and passion, because I've seen so many people that want the idea of changing the world, but it's just an idea. They weren't sold out to it. And even when they were sold out to it, it wasn't within their passion. So they liked the idea that somebody else was doing, but it wasn't something that they were. And so when push comes to shove, they're never going to deal with the challenges that are it, because they weren't truly sold out to it. And it wasn't their really gifting and passion. So once you find out what your gifting and passion is uniquely, see, that's when you're like a hot knife through butter. People can come out of the woodwork and, you're this or that or comments or that, and you don't care because you're so laser focused. But until you figure that out, and we all have our different, aspects of that. So it's like, well, maybe it's chiropractic, but chiropractic's too general. There's so many avenues of chiropractic. Like, what is your unique gifting and passion? And so we figure that out. We've got 3 circles, and you figure out what is a gift that you have, what is something you're passionate about, what are you good at that you've been told you're good at, since you've been, a kid, and then what will the world pay you for? And you ultimately find this magic spot. And so that's to me. So if I'm gonna advise somebody coming up, what is your UGP? What's your unique gifting and passion? That's the thing that's the hill you're willing to die on. And when you find that and you double down on that, it won't be hard for you to wake up and put out content. It won't be hard for you to get up and say, someone do a video on this to put it here. That won't be hard. It will come out of you naturally. If you try to force something, the first negative comment will take you down, and then you'll say it doesn't work.
So if you could pick one thing about yourself to improve, what would it be and why?
Oh my goodness, I could 1,000 different things. To improve, again, there's a lot of stuff. I wish that I found myself that I'm better communicator one on many. I speak a lot and I speak to big groups, and I love doing podcasts like this. But I need to get better. I continually get better at one-on-one, and even through a sales cycle, or whether it just be through communication. I like deep conversation with people. My wife always like, you'd rather you ask people some crazy questions. I'm like, because I don't like fluff. I like deep conversations. But at the same time, I right now, just you caught me at a unique time. I want to get better at one-on-one conversations with people, and instead of having to rely on going one to many, which I love doing, but it's kind of weird because I grew up literally deathly scared of public speaking, and now I can't get enough of it because I've got a message that I want to tell, and if I can get in front of people, I can tell more people, but I need to get better one-on-one as well as that one-on-many. So.
Well, that used to be like the old thing, man, is like everybody was really good at one-on-ones, and then they wanted to get to the position where you're at to be able to do the one-to-many, which I think is pretty cool. Is now you're transitioning back to your early tenets of communication, is you're dialing back into the one-on-one. And I think that that's something really special because I've seen you speak at Cal Jam. I've seen you speak at big stages. And that's really when I was like, Dan Sullivan is the man. And I saw you like so fired up and presenting and like sharing with passion like you're doing right now. And I'm like, the closer I can get to this guy, the more that we can amplify the message of chiropractic. And now what you're doing is speaking almost 1 to 2, but really what we're doing is we're amplifying this messages of 1 to thousands, if not millions. And I think that that's something super important to take away from this is what we've been able to do with our platform is we give people a safe zone. We protect people with the interview to let them know that what they're doing is elevating the consciousness of humanity through our vehicle of excellence, which is our podcast. So when we are able to curate these messages and to host great, wonderful people with passion and message and influence and the research and the methods to back it up, then that's really where we were going with what we're accomplishing. So when I first saw you at Cal Jam, I was like, dude, the closer I can get to Dan Sullivan, the more I can share his message long-term, the greater for the profession of chiropractic. So kudos to you for seeing where your soul genius is, which is the 1 to many. Now let's dial it back and let's get you into that zone, because I'm the same way as you, man. I see people and I ask them like big vision questions. I get into like their uncomfortable zone and try to just get to know them better. Just like your wife is like, dude, you probably take people down some really strange conversations because you see things with such a big lens. And most people don't get approached with people with big lenses. They get approached with people that are like, what's the weather like? What team's losing? What team's winning? You know, what's going on this weekend? Are we getting together for beers? No, we're getting together to change a damn world, brother.
Yeah, that's why we resonate so much, Jim. And I appreciate all your kind words and comments. They really are honoring to me. And but yeah, and it's funny because we've been through enough self-help and leadership training and have read enough books and all the things, right? Where you realize, why are we the way we are? And I've evaluated that. Where I like to speak 1 to many is like, I don't have to accept, like I could speak to 100 people and 40 of them may not like me, but 60 of them do. So I could focus on that. I don't have to worry about the 40 that don't like me. If I'm speaking one-on-one, I'm very aware and needy, if you will. I'm trying to overcome this of like, I need to be accepted. I need to be liked. I just have that, right? And it comes from I'm in the middle of 8 kids. So I've got 4 brothers and 3 sisters. I'm right in the middle. And so my upbringing was all about, kind of don't do anything that gets so far out of line, but at the same time, you want attention. So like doing good things to get attention because you didn't have a lot of attention to be gotten. But at the same time, don't disrupt and so it's like, be accepted. I need to be accepted. So it's just this battle that is still trying to, so I've figured out why that is. So I try to work on that. And like you said, get better at, be more well-rounded is my key.
So we have one more question for you.
Yep.
Do you have any special promotions going on right now that people would want to know about?
Well, yeah, actually I do. We've got a program I just started doing and started promoting, for that matter. And some of you have probably seen it. It's called Fishbowl Marketing. And, we've been talking a lot on this podcast about getting in front of people. One of the things that I believe our message just deserves and the people deserve is to be in front of them and to give them the full truth of that. And I see so many practices that struggle. And one of the things I see them struggle with, and to kudos to you guys and your, programs and resources, is they don't have enough new patients. Like, I don't care what business you're in. You may own a landscaping company or you own a restaurant. You have to have leads that come into the door. That is 101. If you don't, you can't convert anybody, then you don't have any money to look at and you don't have a product or service to talk about. So you have to have leads. It's business 101. I coach, I've got a coach of mine, he's got $100 million net worth, and he coaches real estate agents, mortgage lenders. He owns a mortgage lending company. And so one of the things he's kind of just simplified it is like every business, leads, look at the numbers, and deliver an amazing product or service, right? And the first one is that, leads and conversions, but leads. You got to have leads. Second one is look at the numbers. Third one is deliver an amazing product or service. So for me, having now in the last year really started to really coach a lot of chiros, I realized one of the things that doesn't work in their strategy in terms of growth, they want to grow, but they don't know how to consistently control the amount of leads that come through their office. They're not even paying attention to it. And so somebody asked me, like, when you started your first practice and you went to 1,000 patient visits a week by yourself, one adjusting doctor, what was one of the ingredients? I said, here's one of the main ingredients. I knew that every single week there had to be between 15 and 25 new patients on the schedule. Like, that was the only way we were going to consistently grow. And it also allowed us the freedom to tell the truth. So when you have new leads coming in, you're not so tied to every single one. You can tell the truth the way you want. So many chiropractors are in a practice that they never thought they would create, and they don't like it. It's a pain-based or symptom-based, or people come in and whine and complain, and it's all insurance because they don't have enough leads, because they have to cling tight, hold what they can get, and then they can't tell the truth. And so they just accept the prisoners run the prison. So I get fired up about this, as I kind of preclude to what I was talking about, is that this Fishbowl Marketing program, which I've started to do and teach doctors how to do, which is putting a lot of new patients, new leads, because it's getting people into offices and actually doing talks, linking up a talk. And these docs that I have that are going through this program, they're getting 2 to 3 talks a week, 2 to 3 a week in front of offices, local to their office, and people that have jobs, people that have money. And so then we go in and we teach them how to do a quick 20 to 30 minute talk, and bring lunch rather, and they get new patients from it. And so paid scheduled appointments. So I'm kind of fired up about that because it doesn't have a saturation point. One of the things that we see in marketing is that there's always a saturation point. Facebook ads have a saturation point. Even your SEO, AdWords, funnels, there's going to be a saturation point. And it's good. I'm all for them. I think we should always do them. But knowing the limitation, even a billboard or a commercial has a saturation point. People are going to watch it a certain amount of times, and then they're going to tune out because they've already seen it. This piece, this marketing, this fishbowl marketing has no saturation point. So that's the beauty. If things run out in one, you just go get a new restaurant. And so what I mean by that is the program is all about getting in front of more people that have jobs. And there's a way to do that through restaurants, providing a lunch and learn, and then sealing the deal. The secret sauce, people say, oh, I tried that before. The secret sauce in 2019 is how you present when you get a card, how you present that winner that you're going to be coming in and speaking to their office. That is the secret sauce that we go into it. So people get more information on that, fishbowlmarketer.com, or you can go to my website or my Facebook page or anything else. You could check that out. So thanks for asking.
No, dude, I think that old school marketing's in vogue. And I think that people are going to realize that there is a saturation point and it is a red ocean when you think about how many Facebook marketers are out there that are basically swindling the system and taking advantage of our brothers and sisters that have low level integrity. And I don't try to throw stones at people, but the marketplace is so filled up with people that they don't know, like, or trust, that are trying to vie for the positioning of business building with our brothers and sisters of chiropractic. And just to be clear to everybody, I'm not a DC, neither is Luke, but we protect the sacred trust within the profession of chiropractic. And that's why we set ourselves apart from the rest of the static and noise in the profession that comes at the people that are out there in the trenches serving, that don't know any better. So there's a lot of people out there like yourself that are teaching programs of integrity that is old school marketing, that is bringing that back in vogue, because you have to go back to where the wheelhouse is, and that's community building events, and that's going out there and harvesting your community and meeting people where they are and telling people that, hey, I know you have a problem, and hey, I can help you. But I know we're on the edge of our time together today, Dr. Sullivan. Appreciate your time, appreciate your influence, and you are just one story away, just like all of you guys out there. And our motto is to just keep hustling. So we will see you on the next one, Dr. Dan, okay?
Yeah, I can't wait. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. It's been great.
All right, brother. See you on the next one.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.